Asia Wilson's pretty unlikable and pretty mean-spirited, despite all the dressing.
Asia Wilson feels that Caitlin Clark should receive more recognition as the biggest celebrity and is concerned about her potential departure to Europe.
Asia Wilson certainly has this entitlement. They gaslight and drag other people into
it. After earlier criticizing Caitlin Clark for being privileged despite her previous remarks, Wilson is now making an unexpected attempt to thwart her possible migration to Europe. Asia now desires that Caitlin remain in the WNBA.
Us as Black women, Paige reminds me a lot of you. Like, Asia is not really about me. And she knows how her privilege has gotten her to that.
Although Caitlin Clark's entitlement is shocking, Asia is now acknowledging her influence on the WNBA. Despite the fact that Caitlin has significantly changed the league, Asia still feels she is the star and should receive all the attention.
Titled players in the WNBA just can't seem to understand is, you get what you put in, and right now, you are getting exactly what you deserve.
Honestly, before Caitlin Clark, while putting on a good front, Asia Wilson didn't receive much attention, and her envy, like that of many other WNBA players, has recently grown more apparent.
So what I learned about Miss Wilson, and you look at her numbers, you're like, wow, she is the best player. She must be given credit for that. But Jason, you know what I've really learned though, as I delve deeper into this and I get to know her more from a periphery standpoint? Wow, she's unlikable. That's the thing that I've learned. That she is more and more unlikable. She's abrasive, and she actually hurts the cause as the best player in the league.
The WNBA will be in disarray if Caitlin Clark departs for Europe, with Asia Wilson taking a backseat as she always has. Asia knows she isn't the star, but she attempts to convince the media otherwise by showing off her MVP award.
Don't y'all want a greater profile? Don't y'all want more notoriety? Don't y'all want more?
A trend for future players could have been set by Caitlin Clark's move to the EuroLeague, encouraging other WNBA players to look into international opportunities. However, this potentially game-changing event took an unexpected turn when Asia Wilson interfered, upsetting Clark's plans and sabotaging the promising deal.
Asia Wilson was a more dominating player and deserved to be the MVP, and unanimous.
Wilson's intervention in the transaction wasn't merely a small bump in the road. Rather, it was a deliberate maneuver to prevent Clark from taking advantage of the chance following her WNBA MVP victory. According to reports, Wilson believed she should represent the EuroLeague rather than Clark. This dispute went beyond basketball or personal taste to reveal a more intense rivalry and competitive friction between two of the league's best players. Wilson's actions highlight the WNBA's growing power struggle as these athletes vie for international prominence and influence.
Like, she understands her privilege and like pushes her over the top in a sense. It reminds me a lot of you.
Wilson believed that she should have been the first pick for European clubs due to her MVP award and EST list status in the WNBA. Despite Wilson's insults, the notion that Caitlin Clark was chosen over her probably felt insulting. Wilson appears to be motivated by the conviction that she should be given priority for international possibilities, as she has already established herself as a dominant force in the league. Some people continue to maintain that Caitlin hasn't been targeted this year, despite the obvious competition and power play at play, even if Clark, who is still relatively new, hasn't earned the right to eclipse more seasoned players like herself.
Caitlin is fantastic, and I think she's going to have an incredible career in the WNBA. There are women that were worthy of coverage prior to her arriving, and I just will not be silenced when it comes.
Wilson and Clark have previously clashed over high-profile transactions. Wilson had already attempted to thwart Clark's Nike sponsorship in an attempt to secure the deal herself. This episode alluded to their burgeoning rivalry, but the European dispute has exacerbated it by intervening to thwart Clark's global chance. Wilson has demonstrated how intensely competitive and personal their rivalry has become, and the conflict between these WNBA stars has gone beyond basketball to become a struggle for attention and power off the court as well.
How do you miss an opportunity like that? How do you not capitalize? It doesn't make any sense at all. And playing the politics where, oh, we need to release Asia's shoe first. Well, no, it's not Caitlin's fault that you haven't done anything for Asia.
Wilson probably expected to get more attention from supporters, sponsors, and international teams after winning MVP. It was disparaging to Wilson's exploits that Clark, a relatively new player, was brought up in conversations about the EuroLeague. Wilson anticipated to be hailed as the NBA's most valuable player, but Clark's quick rise has changed the narrative in a way that seems unfair to him. Instead, fans and the media have placed more emphasis on Clark, fostering a spirit of rivalry that goes beyond the basketball court. Wilson feels compelled to protect her position and stop Clark from taking advantage of opportunities that she feels are hers. This dynamic has heightened the rivalry between two of the league's best players.
Caitlin Clark's the most valuable, most important person in the WNBA this year, and should have been unanimous Rookie of...
Wilson's attempt to thwart Clark's arrangement with Europe is not a single instance. Rather, it is part of a worrying pattern of behavior that has grown over time. This rivalry stems from an earlier dispute regarding a possible while competition for lucrative endorsements is common among athletes. The way this rivalry has developed suggests that Wilson views Clark as a direct threat to her career. The Nike incident was an early warning sign of the two players' growing tension. According to reports, Wilson attempted to thwart Clark's efforts to secure the contract in order to establish herself as Nike's premier WNBA representative. Getting a contract with Nike would have been a huge accomplishment that would have cemented her place among the top basketball players, but Wilson, who is already well known, wasn't prepared to share the limelight by trying to block Clark's Nike deal. Wilson demonstrated that she was willing to take drastic measures to maintain her position at the top of the league, and their ongoing struggle has only gotten more intense, underscoring the intense rivalry between these two gifted players.
Nike lucked into the marketing chance of a generation, and they're using that to advertise old product. Why is it happening this way? Now here's the money. Based on conversations with people in the know, it indeed has something to do with the WNBA MVP and Nike athlete, A'ja Wilson. A'ja will be a fit.
Wilson's Clark's quick rise wasn't only a challenge to her status. It also served as a sobering reminder that the WNBA is changing and that this change should be welcomed. Wilson chose to compete with Clark for possibilities, which has resulted in a rivalry that has become more personal. Blocking Clark's Europe transaction was a declaration of purpose rather than just a way for Wilson to safeguard her own interests. Wilson wanted to remind everyone that she is still a powerful force and deserving of being acknowledged as the league's best player, but at the heart of this dispute is a more serious problem. Individual jealousy. Wilson's behavior suggests that her animosity with Clark goes beyond business rivalry. It's a fight for respect and significance in a league that is more than just basketball or endorsement deals. Moving underneath her, the WNBA's dynamics have been thrown off since Clark's arrival, prompting. This increasing conflict highlights the intricacies of their relationship and the demands of upholding position in a changing world. Wilson was once at the pinnacle of six for attention in ways she never expected.
Wilson, 28 years old, 1,000 points in the regular season. Why is that not the biggest story out at the moment? And why are we talking about Caitlin Clark?
Why exactly? Why when A'ja was releasing a shoe were we talking about Caitlin Clark?
Wilson was already among the NBA's top players before to Clark joining the league, receiving multiple awards and endorsement deals. But Clark's entrance has significantly changed the narrative, abruptly shifts the focus to Clark, who receives fan support, media attention, and endorsement opportunities, making it difficult for Wilson to enjoy her success without feeling overshadowed. Wilson has expressed that Clark's path to success has been simpler, framing her as the result of privilege rather than hard work. These remarks highlight Wilson's frustration with how the spotlight has shifted away from her despite her belief that she has earned her place at the top. Their dynamic has intensified, creating a rivalry that complicates their professional relationship. This jealousy is evident not only in Wilson's actions off the court, but also in her remarks about Clark,
who was unanimous MVP, which, by the way, is the first unanimous MVP in the NBA or the WNBA to ever not make the finals, which is something else. Fans are they're gonna share that. It does not mean that we are misogynistic or we're just hating on A'ja. No, it's just this is what happens when a team...
One of the most obvious signs of Caitlin Clark's influence on the WNBA is the sharp drop in viewership when she is not playing. Clark has become a fan favorite, attracting viewers who may not have previously been interested in women's basketball, but when she is not playing, the numbers reveal a concerning picture. Fans stop watching and engagement declines, even when elite players like Wilson are still playing. This trend underscores a harsh reality. In addition to being a gifted athlete, Clark has emerged as the driving force behind the league's growing appeal.
Here's the reality. It wasn't what it is. The quality of basketball may have been up to snuff, and you had somebody as popular as Cheryl Swoops, who had her own signature shoe, had to deal with Nike and all of this other stuff. But the bottom line is, very few people gave a damn.
Wilson and other elite players have kept up their strong play, but the lack of enthusiasm from fans exposes a harsh reality for Wilson. It takes more than just talent to attract attention. Despite her many accomplishments, Wilson has found it difficult to match Clark's distinct charisma and dynamic style of play in captivating spectators, even though the league has always had talented players. As the league develops, it becomes more clear that raw talent is insufficient for expanding the game. Players must connect with fans, create memorable moments, and generate excitement qualities that Clark possesses in abundance. Wilson has found it difficult to accept that Clark is the primary driver of fan interest, which has further intensified their rivalry. Without Clark, it seems like many fans lose interest even when other stars like Wilson are playing at the top of their game.
They decide what they want to do. We can point out how wrong it is. We can point out that that's a reality that shouldn't be a reality. But what we can't do is say, this is what matters. Right. That doesn't, when the audience was telling you, no, something else matters.
Instead of applauding Clark's accomplishments, the abrupt change in emphasis towards him has upset the league's dynamics, making other players feel ignored and undervalued. Some of this can be attributed to Clark's aggressive play style, but it also highlights the growing tension within the league as players frustrated by her success seem determined to challenge her dominance even if it means using physical play to assert themselves and reclaim the spotlight. These players have expressed frustration, seeing her accomplishments as a threat rather than a collective victory for women's basketball. This resentment is evident both on and off the court.